I'm Jody.
And I'm Alison.
And you're listening to the Blume Saloon.
It's a Judy Blume book club.
We're going to be doing a mini episode today.
It's a little baby episode.
A little tiny baby. Because we finished Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Sadly.
Miss you so much, Mavis.
Aww.
And we'd like to announce what we're going to be reading next episode.
Dun, dun, dun.
Tiger
Eyes.
Tiger Eyes.
It's Tiger Eyes.
We asked you, our dear listeners, what you'd like us to read, and the resounding answer was Tiger Eyes. Actually, Tiger Eyes beat out Deanie by, just a couple votes.
We'll read Deanie later.
Yeah, don't you worry.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really excited for Tiger Eyes because
too.
I haven't read it before.
I will read it again very happily.
I'm pumped. And I'm also a little nervous because I think it takes on some darker subject matter, which I'm kind of nervous / excited to get into.
It's for a little bit of an older audience, so you might need to ready yourself for some...
This ain't no tween young adult novel.
She's a fully fledged teenager.
Oh, man. Get my teenager pants on.
Yes. No more head-to-toe velvet or knee socks for you.
Wonder what the fashions are going to be, though.
I can't wait, because this was written a little bit later, too. So, this brings me to a thought that I had earlier today. You know how we've been telling our audience that they don't have to read the books because we're going to just tell them all about it?
Yeah, that they can stop reading altogether.
Then I was thinking, we really should support Judy Blume and her, she's got it made. She probably doesn't need to sell any more books in her lifetime at this point, but I don't want to discourage anyone from buying her books.
It's true, and this is a book club.
Yeah, so, you know what? Just let the record show that we say, go out and buy that Tiger Eyes.
Go buy it and read along with us. You guys have a week or two.
Yeah.
Wait, not before this airs. But you have a week. Get a copy of Tiger Eyes, read the first few chapters, follow along with us. It'll be really fun.
Maybe it's available on Kindle or audiobook even. Wouldn't that be amazing?
That'd be wild.
So support Judy. Woo!
Yo, Judes.
Hey,
we got
Judes.
you.
Hey, Judes.
Aww.
We're reading your book. That's a good one, right?
That was beautiful. That was really something. So.
Ow. Did you just hear my knees crack?
I didn't hear it.
That's disgusting.
You okay?
Sorry, everyone. No, I'm fine. So since this is a little bit of a mini episode, we have a couple odds and ends we'd like to run past you guys. We're going to read a couple letters, some really great letters.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to introduce a new segment called the Judy Blume Rabbit Hole.
That's right. We have taken a dive.
A deep internet research extravaganza.
Have we got a website for you to check out?
Oh, yes. We're going to revisit some unanswered questions that we brought up during the past 5 episodes. We're not experts.
But you're here with us.
Yeah.
So we're going to do it together.
Exactly.
We're going to learn and grow and become women.
Become women together.
All together.
And one last thing. I would like to dedicate this episode to sweet, sweet Adeline.
Oh.
You guys... A few days ago, my husband and I, we were getting coffee at our local neighborhood bakery, Sweet Adeline Bakery here in Oakland, and we found a tiny little dying creature struggling for her last breaths, and I picked her up, and I was just going to move her to some shade so she could die in peace, but her tiny little body was just so warm and full of life that I took her home and tried to rehabilitate her, and
It looked good for a little while, but she was just, it was the cozy push, into her last few days.
Now she's in baby angel heaven, hopefully thankful for her last few days on my office desk.
And this creature was indeed a rat.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. We thought
Not a California vole.
We thought she was a native creature, and I called all these wildlife organizations and finally got her hooked up with this really great organization, the Lindsay Wildlife Organization, I believe they're called, in Walnut Creek. So if you guys ever find a legitimate native creature, that's where you want to take them. But the woman came to pick her up and she took one look and she's like, that's not a vole, that's a rat.
Aw, I just love that you brought in a rat into your home. And she was cozy and she lived a good few days.
We
Jody.
did embrace her in the Blume cocoon, and I can still smell that rodenty musk in here, so I have a window open trying to air it out a little bit. Her scent lingers with us. That's so sad. I'm about to cry. I really was crying earlier today, but I think I've pulled it together enough to record. So, we must move on. I have a great letter here from our pal Lizzie McGinn. God, this one's so good. I can't wait to read it to you guys.
And if anyone else wants to send a letter, you can send a letter to blumesaloon@gmail.com or go through the Blume Saloon website, www.thebloomesaloon.com. We would love to hear from you. And yeah, I'm so excited to hear what Lizzie has to say.
Dear ladies of the Blume Cocoon, are you there? It's me, Lizzie. Allow me to start off with the really important stuff. I'm thoroughly loving every single minute of the Blume Saloon. Aww. Like 100%, hands down loving it. Your flair for nostalgia never ceases to amaze me, and the ratio of giggle fits to expletives used is absolutely perfect. While you are relating to Margaret through your personal anecdotes, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, me too, to many of your tweeny tween flashbacks. One in particular prompted me to write in. During episode 4, Douche Canoe, while discussing the role prayer played in your young lives, Jody said something that made me think, holy moly, that's totally insane, and frankly, it makes me sad to think of little Jody prepping and stressing nightly for an absentee kidnapper/murderer, but holy crap, I did that too. I wasn't alone in my tiny crazy person nightly ritual. That was all in quotes, by the way. I grew up in a house built in the 1970s, which was situated right in front of a woodland mystery land of trees, blackberry bushes, and boulders. Sometime during one of the humid Pennsylvania summers of my preteens, I developed this intense fear of a murderer scaling my house, walking across the roof to my bedroom window, breaking in and murdering me and my family. I know. This must sound insane, but I assure you, this fear haunted my little brain for years. I'm sure it stemmed from an unhealthy interest in watching unsolved mysteries or watching scary movies with my father late at night. Whatever it was that fed the fear, I was absolutely certain that there were a roving band of murderers slinking through our backwoods, and that they were out to get me nightly. So, every night for years, I would shut my windows up tight, turn off the lights, and pull up the covers over my head. It didn't matter if it was 100 degrees outside with 100% humidity. I always needed to complete step 1 through 3 of my ritual. And then, sometimes in my head or slightly mouthing the words, or if I was really freaked out at a whisper, I would repeat, "Nothing's going to happen tonight. Nothing's going to happen tonight," until I felt reassured. Sometimes, if I was trying to pull a little reverse psychology on the situation, I would repeat, "Something's going to happen tonight," over and over. Weirdly, I never had a set number of times to obsessively repeat these phrases. I just kept at it until I convinced myself that I was fine and it was safe to drift off to sleep. Insane. I was a tiny crazy person. I never really told anyone about this. Maybe my sisters, on the rare occasion that we would all sleep in the same room. I would try to get them to join me on the Childhood Anxiety Express. At 5 to 7 years younger than me, they never really understood the method behind my madness, so the cheese stood alone. Eventually, I outgrew this nightly fear ritual, but from time to time, if I'm at home alone, I repeat those words to myself, and then I feel okay. Yours forever, in childhood nightly irrational fear rituals, Lizzie.
Oh, it's like her fear mantra.
In case you guys haven't listened to the episode, this all stems from when we were talking about Margaret's, her prayer rituals at night. And that's kind of it's comforting for her to talk to God, and how I would do something somewhat similar by saying the Lord's Prayer every night before going to bed so I wouldn't get kidnapped and murdered. And it sounds like it's not that unusual after all.
There's tons of small children praying that they don't get murdered.
And sometimes it's super specific. Like when I was afraid that I was going to get murdered, it was because we had just moved to Melbourne, and this girl, Carmen Chan, I don't think she was ever found actually, but it was assumed that she was kidnapped and murdered.
Oh God.
When her
How
parents,
old was she?
She was my age, so she was about 12. She had 2 younger sisters. The parents owned a restaurant, so they were working at the restaurant that night. And 12 is, I would say that's definitely old enough to be left alone for a few hours at night. I don't think that was anything unusual. And she was kidnapped and taken away, and her 2 sisters were left behind. They were locked in a closet, but they reported the man was wearing a, what is it, like a balaclava, like a hunters wear them. It's like a full face mask with the eyes and the mouth cut out.
Oh.
But talk about like the scariest. Mask. Yeah. I guess I mean, I don't, maybe they don't call them balaclavas here.
I don't think so.
But well, that's what the Aussies call them. And talk about like the scariest thing you can wear as a kidnapper, like that's just the stuff nightmares are made of.
You can't really identify people in a ski mask.
Yeah, and with just like the eyes and the mouth cut out. So that's how I imagine I would go as well, by a man wearing a balaclava. And I don't think they ever caught him, but the media had dubbed him Mr. Cruel.
Mr. Cruel.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. In the 80s were kind of full of fear.
Yeah.
Of kidnapping and murder. And I think, the news cycle started more and more. There was Unsolved Mysteries.
Yep,
and
just like
America's
Lizzie
Most
said.
Wanted and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of...
Aton Patz or something.
Yeah.
I think he was the first kid that was... his face was placed on a milk carton. And you just saw those missing children ads everywhere, and it really ingrained itself in you if you were around that age.
They just convicted his murderer.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
this isn't a murder podcast.
Oh, yeah.
However.
Yeah.
Childhood fear is real.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Whether it's of leprechauns or...
Yeah, I feel like I might have been more scared of magical things.
Yeah.
Well, one time when I was little, we lived in Florida.
I didn't know you lived in Florida.
Yeah, we lived in Florida for just like a year before my parents got divorced, and we moved back to Ohio.
Where in Florida?
We're in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh.
Yeah, and so we lived there, and as a 5-year-old, I was wearing pantyhose and a denim skirt, which seems like a totally normal outfit for a 5-year-old.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
And my mom was outside talking to our neighbors, and a Chucky commercial came on the TV.
Chucky. Oh, like a
scary doll.
Yeah.
And I remember just flipping out. It was the scariest thing I had ever seen in my life. And I ran outside, and I got stung by a ton of fire ants. They ate through my pantyhose.
Oh my God.
And so it was like on top of the trauma of seeing Chucky, I was also like in this horrible pain and had to take a bath, and like it took a long time to like feel better.
Oh,
and so
my God.
I had like irrational Chucky fears and doll fears.
Yes.
For a really long time.
Oh, yeah. I don't blame you. That is horrendous.
Yeah.
The ants ate through your pantyhose. What the fuck?
I just love the idea of being that little in pantyhose.
Yeah. Well, your mom,
I was stylish.
Yeah. Doll fears for sure. Even like Teddy Ruxpin was fucking creepy.
Oh, I had the Big Bird with the tape cassette.
Oh, really?
Talk. Mm-hmm. It was a Teddy Ruxpin, but a Big Bird. And it was like my size.
Oh, God.
So that was pretty cool. I think it's still in my mom's garage.
Oh, God.
Hope she sends it to our new baby.
Please. I know. I was going to say. She's saving it for her grandchild.
I bet it still works. Yeah, so fear is real.
It is. Therapy, everybody. Therapy. Highly recommended.
Yeah, therapy's really good for you. And
I think this actually relates really well to our second letter from Kathy.
Talk about trauma.
Yeah, and fears, but at an older age.
This is from Kathy, and she wrote to us about toxic shock syndrome. And so, we were talking about it, how everyone was so scared of toxic shock syndrome when we were young, and like, what is it really, and why is it so scary? Well, Kathy wrote to us because she had a friend who got it. I'm going to read her letter now. Hey, Blume Saloon. First, let me start by saying that I love your podcast. Well, thanks, Kathy.
Aww.
We love you. I read a few Judy Blume books when I was younger, and listening each week is a total trip. Brings back all of my own experiences, for better or worse. The funny and the horrifying. On that note, you talked about TSS, that's toxic shock syndrome, I think in episode 3, and how neither of you knew anyone who actually experienced this or anything about it. I'm going to add that part myself.
Exactly.
I am writing to tell you that I actually did know someone who had it. A good childhood friend of mine. She was about 2 years older than most of my friends, and she got her period first in the group. Lucky her. It really wasn't a big thing. We didn't really pray for our periods the way Margaret did. Smart. However, the first time she used a tampon, her body totally rejected it and weirdly kind of swallowed it up.
Oh my god!
In parentheses here we have, sorry for the gross description, but there's really no other way to describe it. So all of the scary symptoms they list on the side of the tampon box totally came to fruition, and she ended up having to get the tampon surgically removed. We didn't know about this for a while. She was gone from school for a few weeks, and her mom just said she was sick. Once a few more of us started getting our periods, that's when it came out that she was like, never used tampons, and this is why. I like to think it was at a slumber party, and she had like the flashlight under her chin and was like, yes. Gather round. And so, needless to say, we were all mortified, and I am pretty sure it scared most of us out of trying tampons for a long time. Of course, when I finally tried one and realized my body was cool with it, I never looked back. Pads are the fucking worst. Mm-hmm. Ain't it true?
Preach.
I am pretty sure, though, at least within the span of our friendship, she never used a tampon again.
Wow.
I'd love to know what she uses now.
Maybe the cup.
I like, that's my preferred method.
Is it?
A diva cup. So, long story short, even though the percentage of people getting TSS is next to none, that's right, it's like 0.0000006.
Alison looked it up.
%. Yeah, 6 people for every 40 million people a year. I think that's what it said.
I thought it was 40.
It was 40 people. Oh, I'm really good with the facts here, guys. Just alternative facts here all day.
We're trying.
What I really have here is 40 cases per 60 million people. So that is, let me do my calculations really quick. That's 0.00006666667.
That's a very small fraction.
Very few people. And most doctors will never see a case of toxic shock syndrome. So I want to say, like, we're spreading awareness, but also that, like, it probably won't happen to you. So don't worry. So, long story short, even though the percentage of people getting TSS is next to none, the warnings on the box are legitimate. If you get it, that shit is no joke. Anyway, sorry for the semi-gross story, but I thought I would share. Love you, ladies. Can't wait for Tiger Eyes. We can't either! Kathy. P.S. I also have a funny bra stuffing story, but I'll save that for another time. Kathy, please don't save that. Send that in right away. We need to talk about stuffing bras.
And please never apologize for anything that's disgusting, gross, embarrassing. Like, this is where that shit belongs. In the Blume cocoon.
Yeah, we're here to make everything okay.
Yeah. Your face.
Can't see it because this is an audio podcast, but I'm serious.
It was like the most sincere / sassy face I've ever seen.
Ooh, I think that's a pretty good I'm pretty sincere.
That just sums you up in a nutshell, yeah.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for writing in.
And Lizzie, you guys, really appreciate it. Aside from being a dedication to sweet baby angel mouse Adeline, this episode could also be a TSS awareness episode. And in that vein, maybe we should just go over some symptoms, just in case any of you, dear listeners, might be experiencing these.
Yes. A sudden fever. Low blood pressure. Vomiting or diarrhea. And this one is probably more like, unlike the other, sunburn-like rash.
That's the one that I remember from the pamphlets that came with tampons. Because I remember, I told the story of how I thought I had TSS on the boat.
Right.
And I think it's because I had a sunburn and I was like nauseous and probably had a headache because I had my period. And that was, and those are 3 of the main TSS symptoms.
That's scary.
Yeah. Well, tell us about the rest.
Confusion, muscle aches, redness of eyes, mouth, and throat, seizures, and headaches.
Yeah.
So if you have any of these things, you probably have toxic shock syndrome. And
you should call us immediately. Dishwashers.
Now on to another odd and end.
Is this an odd and end, or is this part of our Blume Saloon rabbit hole? Kind of both.
A little bit of both. Odds and ends goes down rabbit holes.
Yes, okay.
That's kind of what happens.
Cool. So there were a couple questions that we brought up during previous episodes as we read this book, and I don't think we ever resolved them. For instance, we were wondering about dishwashers in 1970. This is from the episode when we were talking about how Margaret had her Ohio Christian grandparents come visit, and her mom went crazy cleaning the house, cooking a roast beef dinner, and hired someone solely to wash the dishes that night. And we were like, well, maybe dishwashers weren't really a thing in 1970. I did a little bit of research on this.
They're just a little bit bougie.
Exactly. A little bit out of the price range of probably your average American. In 1966, for instance, an RCA dishwasher cost today's equivalent of $1,500.
Yeah, so it probably was actually less expensive to just hire the woman
occasional
one time
yeah.
for your party where you're trying to impress your parents who disowned you
14 years
ago. Yeah, exactly. It was probably a better economical decision.
A person-to-person phone call is something else we wondered about.
What's that?
I'll tell you. This comes from when Margaret had to call Grandma Sylvia in Florida to tell her the bad news that she wasn't going to be able to come to Florida because the Ohio grandparents were coming to town.
I still can't believe they ruined her vacation.
Oh, my God. But anyway, a person-to-person phone call was basically an operator-assisted call where the caller, this is very interesting, I thought, the caller has to request the person that they want to speak to on the other line, and they don't get charged for the phone call unless they are connected with that person. So I'm assuming in Margaret's day, they're making a person-to-person phone call to the hotel.
And you just say, like, operator, Grandma Sylvia.
Still not sure. I tried to find out more information, and that's all I could find. But conversely, there was a station-to-station phone call, which was kind of the opposite, meaning you get charged no matter who answers. So I don't know how you would,
Maybe it's if you don't know the person you're calling specifically. So, like, I just need to call this place or this company, and whomever answers, I'll talk to. So it doesn't matter.
I also learned about direct distance dialing, otherwise known as DDD. And that came into play in the U.S., at least, in, like, the mid to late 60s, where you could just be like, boop, 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 and then ring, ring.
Oh, just like a number?
It's just like what we know as making phone calls today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it, yeah. Technology.
Well, we stumbled onto a fantastic website that we would love to share with you all. Just as we're kind of wrapping up this chapter on menstruation in the Blume Saloon, I don't know how much we'll actually be talking about periods for our next book, and so we wanted to finish on a real high note and give you a great place to look up more about it and then just share some fun things we found. MUM.org. This is the Museum of Men-stroo-ation. However, they're currently on a 1-year break from regularly updating the site as of March 1st, 2017. But it gives you a whole year to catch up on everything that's already here before there are any updates.
We thought maybe this had been written in 1997 and they were going to be back in 1998 because the site is like pure HTML.
All kinds of italices and different colors of blue and red happening here, but I love it.
There's a really great drop shadow behind the logo. But I think that's how you know it's legit. Like, these people are in it for the information.
It is so good. There's so many great old ads on here for different menstrual products. There are different menstruation in all the different cultures. Really feeling it. So there's a really great Tampax ad. Speaking of TSS, It's a girl. We'll put these up on our Facebook and link back to the website accordingly. Some thoughts on, quote, "You want me to put that ... where?" And it's a girl, and she's in black and white in like a really cool kind of 90s look. It has all these great answers to questions of, is it going to hurt? Won't it feel funny? When do I take it out? I need real protection. Does that little thing really work? And you can get a freebie if you write to Satin Touch in St. Cloud, Minnesota.
A free tampon?
Yeah, you get a free sample.
Nice.
Question for you, Jody, just while we're on the subject of free samples. I remember when I was coming of age, certain things like free samples of tampons and razors and weird things like that started to appear in the mail. Did that ever happen to you?
No way. I wish.
And now they just start targeting you on the internet. Like the whole internet knows I'm pregnant.
God,
so I'm constantly getting things, like, oh, here's like actually stylish maternity wear. And like, oh, some things you have to have, or check the baby's heartbeat using an iPhone attachment. Apparently it's a thing. It's like a Kickstarter thing. So, I remember free samples.
But this makes me wonder, like, how do they, back before the internet, when you were getting samples and physical samples in the mail, were they like...
It's like the census.
Or like your social security number, maybe? They knew how old you were?
Maybe just subscribe to Delia's and tampons are yours. So that's like an ad from 97, but there is an amazing ad from January of 1947. And this is, a true or false about if you're going ice skating, whether or not it's okay while you're on your period.
And what do you guys think? I think, it's okay. You should get on those skates.
Do whatever you want to do, but also don't do things if you don't feel good. But this is, a true or false. It isn't bright for you to skate every day of the month. True. It's like, what? You're telling me I can't ice skate?
It's okay.
Excuse me. You're telling me I can't ice skate every day of the month just because I get my lady days? And then it really advertises, it's actually for these tampons, or not tampons, maxi pads. Mm-hmm. However, through the guise of content. So this is early content marketing. You can get a copy of Growing Up and Liking It. I don't like it. And it says that smart girls everywhere are reading this bright illustrated book on the here and why of menstruation. So this is really, close to what happened to Margaret when the private lady company came to her school and was showing the video about menstruation.
Yes. We were appalled that this was happening, but I guess, Judy really based this off of...
Oh, we had a lot of corporations coming to our school lecturing us.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
I think it just depends on if the school would sell the kids out or not.
Yeah. Like, what kind of... I know this, we're totally deviating, but, what kind of...
there's the Army.
Oh,
the Navy, the Marines. However, I remember a weird... FUBU came to our school and gave a lecture on self-starting.
Interesting.
Yeah, I feel very close to this.
Yeah,
and it turns out there are a lot of books and pamphlets like this from over the years, and they updated them at different times, and they were all secretly selling pads and tampons. And the amazing MUM.org, the Museum of Men-stroo-ation, has copies of a lot of these. So we'll post them on the Facebook so you can check them out. But you can actually make your way through the whole Growing Up and Liking It that was published originally in 1944. They look horrifying. So that's what we got.
Did we cover all our odds and ends for today?
Lots of period talk. We'll miss Margaret forever.
Yeah.
We're so excited about Tiger Eyes.
Yep.
We answered some questions, some lingering questions. If there are any more, please write us an email. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing we want to hear about. We live for it. We live for you to subscribe to the Blume Saloon. Ooh, nice transition.
We're pros now, remember?
Rate, review,
and subscribe, and like us on Facebook, and
we love you, Blume heads. We're gonna think of another name, but for right now, you're Blume heads.
I kind of like bloomers.
Oh, bloomers. bloomers.
Like cute little bloomers.
I'm into it.
All right. Well, we will see you next week, and get your copies of Tiger Eyes, and
Bye.